Last week was super tough for me because I'm injured now. I cannot rock climb currently, and I'm training for Boulder Fest. And actually, I'm training for life. I just want to be the best I can by the time I die. But I'm training for Boulder Fest right now. I want to be the best I can at Boulder Fest as well. That's my small goal right now. And I'm injured, which is going to put a halt on my training. And in doing so, I have not in doing so. In return, I need to go back to the drawing board and I need to find a new training plan that can match what I'm doing currently in my endurance training while also helping me recover and reinforce the strength of my hamstring. Because if I don't do that, I won't be able to compete in the Boulder Fest at all. When I hurt my hamstring, in the day I hurt my hamstring, I basically did a very intense hamstring workout, leg curls, earlier that day. I didn't think much of it, but obviously I tore partial tear to my hamstrings as it was pretty intense. I went very hard on my hamstrings in the weight because I started to notice that I had this difficulty with the LV7 route, and I didn't want to come back again another time and not be able to hold it with the heel hook like I wanted to. But in doing so, that cost me. Because when I went to the session later, I was doing a very intense, not even a heel hook move, nothing crazy like that, but instead a different type of hamstring move, in which is called a high step. This isn't a rock climbing term. This is just a normal function of the body in which we do a step that is very high. Think of it as a very high step on stairs. So in this case, the motion that my hamstring performed, I'm going to also play the video, of course, of when I injured myself right now. But the motion that I performed was that of a high step. My knee was very close to my chest, and I was pushing off of my leg to go up towards a crimp. And in doing so, that pulled my hamstring. That I never knew that could be so strenuous on the hamstring before. And even in the moment, it didn't feel strenuous, or it didn't feel, like it was pulling hard on my hamstring, but it did, obviously did. And now I'm going to talk more about what I'm going to do about this, because I need to keep training. It's what I do. And even if my training is just recovering, that's fine. I'm going to talk over my recovery plan and everything going forward now. Before we talk about like the injury as well as the other session that I had that week, I first want to talk about what my plans were going into this week. To summarize what I talked about last time, I talked about I had a strong session for endurance, but it wasn't specifically low intensity endurance. As well as my bouldering sessions, I was having a really, really bad mindset overall on my goals, as well as my expectations for myself, that it led me to be projecting expectations from others onto myself or whatnot. And instead, I started to manifest these expectations onto myself, that I should be achieving certain goals and doing other things. And in the moment, I blamed other people. Then shortly after, realized, no, I'm looking at this all wrong. I'm to blame, and I need to work on my mentality. And then going into this week, I was focused on improving that. So my boulder sessions would go better, as well as focusing more on low intensity endurance training on overhangs, whether that's 10D or all the way back down to 10D, or if it's pushing myself on 11C routes on overhang. It didn't matter as long as I was, gaining low intensity endurance on overhang. But in the end, on my Wednesday session, I'm going to talk about it more later, I ended up hurting myself. So going into this week, I had an original goal that was beneficial, but instead it got halted because I did not take care of my body appropriately, and I got injured. I'm going to first talk about my bouldering session. Not the session where I got injured, because that I feel is better for a later discussion. I want to first address the mentality struggle I'm still having with myself, so that I can look back upon this video and understand what I did to overcome it and how I started to feel better. In the end, what I ended up doing on Monday was not at all my strength training session, and nor what my normal strength training session was. Instead, I turned it into just a basic projecting session. That's all I did. I spent an hour and a half doing one V7 route. It was a hard V7 slab route, it's what it was, and I struggled on it. I was really having a hard time pushing myself and my body to just do hard moves. Instead, I was having a bad mentality, expecting the hard moves to be easy, due to all these expectations I was manifesting and so on. But in the end, I decided, you know what, maybe the best thing for me right now is just to choose this V7 route that I should be able to send in one session, and I'm going to one session it, no matter how many attempts it took. It took me 20 attempts in the end, in an hour and 30 minutes, and a lot of beta analysis for what I needed to do, even because every move was so hard on it. It was not like a one move V7. Every move was difficult in itself, and the last move was extremely difficult as well. And it wasn't like hard like muscle wise, it was technique wise. That's what a lot of it was. So I had to be both accurate on the first move, I had to be accurate on the next move, and then I had to be stable on the third move. I'm playing a video of it right now so you can see what I'm talking about, but it was very difficult. But I'm sort of happy and sort of disappointed I did that. I'm happy I did it because it helped me get back into the idea of pushing myself to send something hard, no matter how long it takes. Because usually, I guess, one thing that's been messing up is that I only have 30 minutes to try hard. I usually end up resting for the next session. I should be going on out, not waiting for the next day flash or whatnot. I should be going hard on every attempt, not just the first one. And so I was happy I did that. I pushed myself hard, but I am kind of upset because I still had other V8 projects that I needed to work on, and that I was already close to sending. And if I did skip this V7 and instead I did the same practice towards one of the V8s, I probably would have sent it. But I am still happy I did this V7, as it did help me get back into a stronger mentality of pushing myself hard and not setting expectations. There will be hard V7s, there will be hard V6s, and in the end, there will be hard V1s for a unique style I've never done before, and it's just one move, but once you master it, it's a V1. So there will be moments like that I'm going to encounter, and it's going to suck and it's going to hurt, especially when I look at the grades for being grades and not looking for the difficulty instead, because grades are subjective, but in the end, if I find something difficult, I should approach it and I should try to overcome it. Going into the second session, now that my mentality has somewhat been improved, and I've lowered my expectations, and instead, more of have just generally done less expecting and more of just searching, I guess is a better term, more of just challenging myself. I think that's a lot better. And I'm definitely going to be using that with other people. I'm going to be specifying, like, not that I expect them to send something, but I encourage them to challenge themselves to send a project. I think that if I do that, that'll be a good way of also benefiting myself, as I'm not going to look at projects the same way. But with that fixed and everything else, I'm going into my Wednesday session with the goal of doing a better job of low intensity endurance, in which in the end I didn't do a good job. I started strong. I did the usual 11B, which was great. It was slightly overhang and it was pushing me. I had a hard time. Next route, same thing. I went to the 11C I usually do. I crushed, except I didn't actually. That was incorrect. So the gym was very crowded on Wednesday. So the usual top rope stuff me and my buddy, my partner do, only he got to do the 11C. I just went to the other side because other people wanted to use that rope. And since we're using it for so long, I don't want to hog it. So I went to the other side and I challenged myself on the orange 11D route. And I sent it 2 times. Yeah, I sent it 2 times, which I was very happy about. In fact, I think I only sent it once, and then I got halfway up on the next attempt, which was really bad because that's very hard, and that's not low intensity endurance. That's power endurance is what it more of is. It's me training myself to be able to do very powerful moves in succession. Low intensity endurance is doing very easy moves over a continuous period of time. That's why it's 4x4s, not send route once. If I sent route once, that would be training myself to be, power endurance. And even if I did 3x5s instead of 4x4s, that would be power endurance, because that's lowering the number of reps but increasing the intensity. That's building more strength and more power endurance. Instead, I didn't do that. And because me and my buddy were having such a bad session, and all the ropes were being taken, we were like, you know what, let's just have fun. Let's just take it a chill day. Let's not push too hard, and let's go do some bouldering. And in doing so, I injured myself. I injured myself in a different scenario in the gym, where instead I used the leg curls right beforehand, because I wanted to increase the intensity and strength of my hamstrings. But instead, I ended up injuring myself later because of that. So when you're working out and you push your a muscle hard, you end up tearing it a bit, and then usually over a period of time, it starts to weaken because you tore it. It's going to try to recover, but it's still in a weak state. So that's why if you go work out when you're sore, you are at risk pulling a muscle, because you've already have a torn muscle, and then if you strain it too much, stretch it too much, it can tear. Or it can be pulled. And I'm assuming that is what happened in this case, because in doing that during the lunchtime on Wednesday, and then going all the way to late in the evening, doing a boulder session, a small boulder session, of course, and doing the high step on the boulder, like I showed in the video, the high step movement for my hamstring, it pulled it. And so now I can't do that move anymore, and I can't really push my hamstring very hard. I'm able to walk, I'm able to do other general things, and I could probably even do some workouts as long as I don't strain or push too hard on my hamstring. And that's a big issue, because a lot of my training right now has been strengthening my core and my hamstrings, especially if I'm leaning towards overhang endurance. Overhang endurance is for your hamstrings and your core. It's not just arms. It's a lot of hamstrings and core, because it's all about lifting the hips towards the wall to give less pressure to your arms. But in the cost, your arms have to also deal with a lot. So it's a lot of your muscles trying to stay on the wall in this, very awkward position. So injuring that, I can't train overhang endurance anymore. My training sessions have definitely changed now. And going into the future, I'm going to have to make sure I don't do a pattern of training. I cannot train the same thing in twice a day. As in, even not just specifically for muscles, just I cannot do strength training 2 times a day. That does not help my strength training recover. I cannot do strength training. I cannot do endurance training 2 times a day either. Doing endurance training 2 times a day will not help my body recover to then have improved endurance training. It's just if I do that, obviously in this case, it worsens my body to the point where it pulls a muscle, because it's just too much, and my body tore that much on the muscle fibers. So, and as well, I do want to mention, like, my mentality is much better. I want to make sure I get that clear. My mentality is better, and I think the Monday session helped a lot, but it doesn't directly connect with what happened on Wednesday, because from coming back from mentality and then going into the Wednesday session and being injured, those are 2 entirely different lessons. And I definitely have to focus on the Wednesday session and the lesson I learned there about injuring myself more than I have to do about mentality, because I guess they kind of connect, because now that I've injured myself, my mentality is all over the place. Because I just don't really understand how I'm going to move forward with making the most gains and min-maxing my gains to the point where I'm constantly, getting stronger. It's going to be difficult. I think it will only take 2 weeks, though. I think I can recover by then. I don't think the hamstring injury was that bad. I think it hurts, and it hurt in the moment, and it made going upstairs difficult for a day. But after that, I think I'm just going to have to do my best to just be patient and recover. And then once I'm all back, I can get right back on the wall and start crushing the V8s and V9s again. Going into the next week, I have a couple of things that I need to take care of. First is resting I need to rest for a full week. The injury happened on Wednesday. I cannot start training again until Wednesday. And then after that, I'm going to have a training plan ready to continue my training sessions while also improving the strength of my hamstring. My hamstring's doing much better already, which is wonderful, and I should be able to start pushing it and stretching it a little bit more than I already have. And my hamstring only seems to hurt in long sitting positions, as well as pulling heavy on my hamstring. So doing a high step again would hurt it a lot. And that's why going upstairs has been painful. So I'm going to have to slowly do very low intensity high steps, to the point where they don't necessarily hurt or don't hurt too much, so that my hamstrings can recover and get stronger. And my body recognizes, hey, we need the hamstring to be strong. Because I will say, if you just sit around and you wait a whole month, your body is going to, for the areas that are injured, there will be time, not all the time, sometimes resting for a month, resting for a week is great, but there will be moments where if you rest too long, your body's just not going to get stronger, and that's dangerous. So going into the next session, starting Wednesday, I need to have a training plan ready, and be able to start working my low intensity training and improving my hamstring.